I believe that through creativity and community, there is literally nothing we cannot transform for the better. Nothing. It's time to change the world.
There's got to be a better way.
It's time for something better.
You feel like you can't really make a difference, but the fact is that you can.
We're telling the stories of people who are changing the world and how you can help.
We just need more companies that are out there solving these problems.
Businesses, nonprofits, artists, and individuals who have found a problem and then created a solution.
If we want to have real impact, we have to do it together.
You'll come away from every episode with action steps you can take to be part of that solution.
We're never going to feel satisfied and happy if we just stay the same.
We can each change the world every single day.
People can actually come together and build a future for themselves along with other people.
Our daily actions have a massive impact. So what will we do about it? We can remake the world. Because guess what? We can. Hi everyone. I'm Nathan Gardner, and this is We Can Remake the World, a podcast about people who are changing the world and how you can help. I'm so excited to be sharing our introductory episode. Thank you for being here. I wanted to start by speaking a bit about who we are, what our intentions are for this podcast, and what you can expect from each episode. Here are the basics. I believe each of us has the power to change the world. I also believe that the actions we take every day matter. I believe there are solutions to every problem we face, and that if we can see every challenge as an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to get creative, there's nothing we can't solve. We're all in this together. And we all have a piece of the solution to every problem out there. We each have a role to play in making a better world. I'm so grateful you're here, and I hope you feel inspired with every episode you join us for. And if you don't feel inspired by the end of this episode, stick around. I promise we'll deliver. This is We Can Remake the World. Hi everybody, thank you so much for joining us for our introductory episode. We'll spend some time offering some insight into our podcast, what we're up to here, and what we want to do for you, our listeners. I hope you'll take a moment to subscribe, rate our show, and review us once you've given our first few episodes a listen. We would be incredibly grateful for your support as we get started, and as we share the stories of people who are changing the world and how you can help. If you would help us share those stories, it would mean so much. Thank you. So, what is this show all about? What can you expect from tuning in? What will you get out of it? And why should you care? Well, look around. There are a lot of challenges out there. We're finding ourselves at a crossroads of sorts, I think, realizing that we have to make some meaningful changes if we want to live in a better world. A world that sustains us, where people and planet aren't struggling just to survive as things are now. When we look around at all of these challenges, we might feel overwhelmed or helpless, and that's understandable. We might be doubtful that we can actually do anything that matters or that we can make a difference. But I believe with every part of my being that each of us has the power to change the world. And we'll be featuring guests who are doing exactly that. And during each episode, you'll learn from our guests about what inspired them, what they're building to make change, and how you can get involved. These are companies, nonprofits, artists, and individuals, just everyday folks who are changing the world for the better every day. We want to shine a light on their example and tell their stories so that you, our listeners, are inspired by the possibilities out there. We want to show you that nothing is hopeless and that every problem has a solution, as long as we're committed to finding it or creating it and then building it. And we want you to feel that you can be part of each solution that we present. Many of our guests will be experts in their problem, sharing how they found the solution that they're now creating, what some of their challenges are, and what each of us can do every day to make a positive impact when it comes to whatever they're focused on. We'll be sharing new episodes every other Monday, every 2 weeks. Our first guest, for example, which we'll share in 2 weeks, is the CEO of a nonprofit in New York City who is focused on ending hunger. His organization collects leftover food from restaurants and businesses and delivers that food to those who need it, the homeless community, and other human services shelters mostly around New York, but also around the country in the United States. Our guest has looked at the numbers, and he knows that we could end hunger tomorrow if we just make some positive and intentional changes. He'll share more about what he's doing to end hunger, his part of the solution, and how you, me, and everyone we know can be part of the solution, can be part of ending hunger. During every episode, we'll briefly introduce the problem our guest is solving or the project that they're building to give some background on the focus for that episode, and then we'll move to our interview with our guest. After the interview, we'll review some key takeaways from the conversation. What did we learn? What blew our minds? What new understanding do we have now based on the conversation? We're calling these the 3 changemakers, because each one of these new ideas that we'll go through after every interview will encourage us to think about these problems in a new way, or to think about the world in a new way, to break the conversation down a bit so that we can each see that change is possible just by opening our minds to a new understanding. We'll dig into each of these 3 changemakers after every interview to help drive the ideas of our guests home. We'll then share clear, practical steps that you can take to be part of whatever the solution is in your daily life. After every episode, we want you to feel fired up, inspired by the vision of our guests, and empowered by the positive impact that you can make, the change that's right at your fingertips. We'll finish each guest episode with a challenge for you, our listeners, so that you can take positive action in your own daily life based on the conversation we've just had. We really believe that everyone can change the world, every single one of us, every day. And that the more of us who believe that are out there doing whatever they can each day to make positive change, the faster the world we see will transform into something beautiful and amazing. Humans are so insanely creative. Think about it. Every single thing that you see started as just an idea that someone had, an inspiration to make something or solve some problem that they identified. Our cell phones, our televisions, our electricity, our airplanes, these were all ideas that people had that then became something after they built it. There was a desire to solve a problem, to create better communication, a more reliable source of energy that could sustain into the evening, a way to travel quickly around the world. And then the solution came. Of course, with trial and error and with time, but it started with that idea, that vision, and that belief that something could be done. We believe it's time to apply that thinking to everything we see in our world that we think of as a problem. Yes, there's a lot to solve, but that's where creativity begins, isn't it? If we start to think about what it will take to solve each problem, start focusing on the solution, start working together to build that solution, agreeing upon what the best version of that is, then we can do anything. Here's one example. We want to stop polluting our environment. Well, what is contributing to the pollution? What are the alternatives? Can we make reusable products that will prevent waste? Can we improve our waste systems themselves? Can we educate ourselves and each other about what's really going on out there so that we're acting from an empowered place of knowledge? That's another one of our goals. We want to empower you, our listeners, with information so that these problems don't feel so huge, confusing, or out of reach. We want to break things down for you with the help of our guests, who, again, are basically experts in whatever they're focused on, so that you get a peek into what's really causing some of the problems out there and what can actually be done about it. Our guests are on the front lines of solving whatever challenge they're focused on, and we want to share their expertise and vision with you. Who better to be inspired by than someone who's deep in a problem and still sees the potential and the possibility for positive change? We'll also be speaking with everyday people about how we can make this world a better place in a lot of different ways. We'll get real with people about their hope, their hopelessness, their passions and vision for a better world through their eyes, and what keeps them going. What keeps them focused on positivity and, their peace? There are a lot of podcasts out there with amazing conversations with well-known, successful, and famous people. And our goal is to speak to some of those people because they have perspectives worth sharing, to be sure. But we also want to talk with all kinds of people. People who are doing their best to live better every day. And maybe they're not famous, maybe they're not hugely successful, but those stories matter. Those people's desires and challenges and frustrations and victories, their points of view on how we can bring this planet together in a positive way are just as important. We all know that there are a lot of challenges out there and that many things feel difficult when we read the news and hear about what's happening around the world. It's not a simple time to be on the planet, to put it mildly. But our focus will be on what's on the other side of all of these problems. What will it take to get us from where we are now, where we don't always want to be, to a better place? And how can we get there? What will it take? And what can each of us do about it? How can we be part of that? We also want to tell your stories. This is a podcast about community, about all of us, because we are all in this world together. We want to know what inspires you and what you're doing to create a better world. What action steps are you taking because of the inspiration that you got from one of our guests, or from a company that you love and believe in, or a nonprofit that you volunteer with? We want to hear your stories, and we want you to share them on social media. We want your reactions, your feedback, what you found confusing, or what you want to learn more about. We want you to join us on our Facebook group, on Instagram, on Twitter. We want you to interact with us so that we can hear about the amazing people and organizations that you love and support, or about the daily action steps you're taking, which might inspire another listener and give them more courage, more inspiration to do something that makes an impact in their daily lives. Our goal is to build and grow a global community of people who are no longer asking themselves, oh man, what can we do about all this? But instead saying, look what we're doing about all this. Look what we've made. And we invite you to be part of that community. Join us. Get and stay inspired. Wake up every day committed to being better and sharing your gifts with others and with the world so that others are inspired by your example. Be part of this community, which will show what's possible. We would be so grateful if you would share our podcast with anyone who you believe would be inspired by our message, by our guests, and the conversations that we're having, that we're starting. Speaking of telling all of our stories, here's a little bit about me. I'm Nathan, and I'm originally from Detroit. My background is pretty diverse. I've been a professional stage actor and singer. I write music. I'm a certified holistic health coach, and I work for a tech company based in New York City. With my background in the arts, health, spirituality, and business, I feel like my life has placed me almost at a really interesting intersection, which allows me to talk to a lot of different kinds of people about what's possible from their point of view. I'm able to meet them, I think, where they are, and also to talk to them about what it will take to build what's possible. I've always believed a better world is possible. I've read a lot of books on spiritual growth, personal evolution, and I've changed a lot of my beliefs from disempowering ones and limiting ones to empowering thoughts, to beliefs which make me feel like I can do something with my life and in the world. I've definitely been in that overwhelmed, hopeless place plenty of times in my life, but I also know that there's a way to the other side. That there's always a way to the other side of that feeling, to that place where learning and growth and expansion by challenging your old beliefs and old ideas is what takes you into something new, into a new understanding, a new way of behaving or being. That's how I know what we'll be talking about on this show is possible. Because I've done it so many times in my own life, come against challenges, created a new way to look at it and to think about it, and changed into something that fit my new idea. After a few different people in my life told me at very random times that I should start a podcast, I began thinking about what that might look like. And that's how We Can Remake the World was born. I've been working with friends, colleagues, family, and other collaborators to put the pieces together for this show. It's the first time I've ever done anything like this. I am brand new to podcasting, and I'm so thrilled to finally be sharing it with you, even if I've been learning a lot and stumbling along the way, because I believe so strongly in this message that we have the power to change the world. So I'm going to learn whatever I need to get that message out there. I believe that through creativity and community, there is literally nothing we cannot transform for the better. Nothing. I know that if we can just tell more and more stories of what's possible and build some momentum around potential and ideas that challenge the way we look at the world, then our cultural story will change. I really believe that. And I think we'll start to see ourselves as instruments for change instead of looking outside of ourselves all the time, wishing the news told better stories. Well, we can make those stories and tell those stories and remake this world into something that better fits our vision for it, a better version of it, as individuals and, within our communities. All of our greatest teachers, our greatest examples of people who chose to change the world have said over and over that the power of one individual is huge. They've told us to be the change, to make a daily commitment to bettering ourselves and the world in whatever way we can, to empower ourselves and then empower others, and to build communities around ideas of improvement and potential. So let's do that. Let's see ourselves as the solution that we've been looking for. Maybe we're the superheroes we've been waiting for. We're powerful when we stand up and say that we're capable. My goal for this podcast is to do that more than anything else, to help anyone who listens to understand that they have power to make change every day. In big ways and small ways. I'm not so concerned with the size of the impact as much as the belief that it's possible. Let's do it. Let's change the world. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of this conversation. And thank you for sharing with anyone who you believe would be inspired by these stories. Subscribe to our show on Apple Podcasts so that you don't miss a new episode. Or find us on Spotify, Amazon Music, SoundCloud, and all other platforms. If you feel that we're doing something that matters and that you want to see these ideas grow, give us a rating and review. It helps so much to spread the word and get other people invited into the conversation, and we'd be so grateful. Join in on the conversation we're starting by connecting with us on social media. We'll be using our Facebook group to connect listeners with each other so that you all can share the change that you're making in your daily life. you can highlight the impact that you're having. We want to build a community of people who are inspiring each other every day with positive action. Hit us up on Instagram at We Can Remake the World or on Twitter at WCRTW Podcast, and find links to our Facebook group and more at wecanremaketheworld.com. We'll also be using our website as a place for more information and resources from each episode. Every episode will have its own page with links to articles and more information that we discussed on the episode with our guest. We'll post each episode's challenge and the 3 changemakers and more. We'll also be creating downloadable resources in collaboration with our guests, which we'll post on the website. So check us out there, wecanremaketheworld.com. Never doubt that you can make a difference. Never allow the challenges out there to make you feel small or defeated. There's so much we can do if we just believe that we can, and we're so excited to prove that to you. Join us in a couple of weeks for our first guest, and stay tuned and get inspired, get involved, and get ready to remake this world into something better, into a world that looks more like the one we know we want to live in and we deserve to live in. Until next time.